What's up, everyone? We're back with another stamina break. We're doing a little commentary here and review on the Wildlands.
Just giving our thoughts and general impressions, talking about the state of the game and, just giving our opinions of what we think of the game so far.
Would you like to lead us off here, Chameleon?
Well, first off, what were you expecting when we first saw this game? Like,
Are you talking about pre-beta or post-beta?
like when you first heard about it, what really intrigued you about this game?
Well, so for me, I didn't honestly expect much. We have played pretty much every Ghost Recon since the start, and they've all been decent games. And I haven't had much to complain about, but they were never that great in my opinion. They were never bad, but they never outshined any other games. So I tried not to get my hopes up too high in regards to Wildlands. For the most part, I was pleasantly surprised, even when the beta came out. But overall, I wasn't expecting the world from them, just because they've never delivered it on it before, even though they've promised it just about every time they've released a game. So I tried not to put my hopes too high on Wildlands.
See, for me, I was a little more excited than you were, because, I saw it was open world, it was a tactical shooter. I love the fact that it was, mostly focused on PvE, so I was expecting, this really good story, or, well, not really a story, because the Ghost Recons really haven't had too much of, a story, so I wasn't expecting, The Last of Us kind of story, but at least a good story that will keep me, playing. But, and then as we slowly got closer and closer to the beta, I learned, there's all kinds of weapons and customizations. This is going to be awesome. All this, different loot that we can go get in this humongous open world that looks gorgeous. I was more excited than you were on this one. But, as we got into the beta, we weren't in the closed beta, but we were in the open one. How did your opinions change when you played the beta from what you were expecting?
It was better than I expected. I will admit that. But there was a lot of things as an example, as many commentators have mentioned, a lot of the missions are very repetitive. I've enjoyed more just kind of doing our own thing as far as assaulting, strongholds and things like that. In the beta and, since the game came out. I've enjoyed that more than I have the actual missions themselves.
Why do you not like the missions?
They're just boring to me. There's not much to them. A lot of the missions are tail this guy without being detected. Okay, you tailed him, now interrogate him. And, there's not much to it. And, one thing that I was, really excited about for Wildlands was the ghost level difficulty, or even the advanced level. I was expecting it to be more of a
challenge.
Yeah, and it really isn't. You can still run and gun. You can still, and that works for a lot of people, because most people, well, myself included, I'm a terrible stealth player. And so for me, the idea of doing everything stealthy was not overly appealing. But I will say I kind of fell in love with the sniping in this game, as far as the bullet drop, and just having to be more careful with your shots, rather than just a Call of Duty sniper situation where it's you shoot and it's going to hit.
360 no scope.
Yeah.
I agree with you. The missions can get a little repetitive. Like you said, blow up this convoy, tail this guy without being detected. For me, I'm more the stealth player, so I like the challenge of trying to get in there without being detected. And some of them have their level of difficulty that's just kind of hard, but none of them are really outrageous. But going into the beta, I started to get I started to get even more excited for this game for me because I was like, oh yes, this is awesome. It, you know, everyone kept saying, you know, it looks beautiful far away, and it doesn't, you know, it just looks like a normal game close up. You know, to me, the graphics, they're whatever. As long as there's good mechanics to play, or, you know, if there's a good story, I don't really bother about the graphics too much. But, you know, when we got into the beta and we started to find all these different, you know, weapons and the parts that you can equip them and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, this is neat and everything. But by the end of the beta, I could start to see, like, the end game of this game already. So it's like, okay, I've already collected everything. I've already beat the missions in the area. What do I do now? So it's really going to be...
The answer is nothing.
Yeah, besides, you know, just run around and mess around.
Yeah.
I mean, I could really see the hard struggle that the developers are going to have with this game of trying to keep people interested, because this game definitely seems like a type of game where you play it all. You know, it could take you, you know, a week to beat this, or if you're a hardcore player, like 3 days or whatever, if you want to collect everything or do whatever you want. But then after that, there's no point in playing the game. Now, I know there's talk of multiplayer coming, but that, since it's not in the game yet, it's pretty much I just play the game for 3 days, and then, you know, I'll pick it back up when they put something out for it.
Yeah. Well, and then another issue that you run into with this game is how many bugs there are, as far as like people falling out of helicopters continuously.
Yeah. I mean, that hasn't been
running
fixed
behind
since the beta.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, you know, this game has been out how long now, and, you know, none of the patches or anything that they've put out have really done anything to fix that.
I will say that they have fixed the issue of, well, I'd say they've sort of patched the issue of, remember when we were first playing, like, we had a hard time, like, staying in each other's game, or...
Well, I think that was more of a problem with their servers that, you know, every game has when a game releases. I mean, as an example, Mass Effect, you know, that was an issue for, you know, the first week of release. So as far as like that goes, I don't expect much out of you know, games when they first come out as far as like their connectivity, because every game that comes out, regardless of how big the title is, has connectivity issues as soon as they release. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I try not to hold that against the game. I will say it lasted quite a bit longer in Wildlands than it did most games, which was pretty disappointing. Because I mean, you know, we stopped playing it for quite a while just because of that fact. Just because it was impossible to do recordings in, because we were just getting dropped constantly and things like that.
Now, what other bugs have we seen? So we've named, you know, the drop issues, the people falling out of choppers, the cars. There's lag issues. I mean, the other day, I remember I wish I recorded it. I grabbed a guy as he was getting in a car. It was one of the mission objectives where you're supposed to interrogate the guy. I grabbed the guy as he was getting in the car, and it glitched to where I was holding the guy. He was not in my arms, but he was halfway in the ground, and his lower body was driving away in the car. And I failed the mission because the car got too far with nobody in it.
Oh, that's great. That's probably one of the better ones I've heard.
I really wish I recorded that one, because that was great.
But I mean, that's the thing. Like, that's one part I hate about this game, is the almost like cutscene mechanics, as far as, you know, like taking the pictures, getting in cars, getting out of cars.
Oh yeah.
The animations just take so long.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have you been killed by the animation of getting out of the car, or...
More times than I care to think about, that's for sure.
Yeah, getting out of the car, getting out of the helicopter, you know, doing your dodge roll, or snapping a photo and people are shooting at you.
Yep.
I really wish that they would, like, if you're getting shot at, cancel the animation.
Yeah.
Like, that could almost add a little difficulty in the game, that if you're, you know, under fire and trying to interrogate somebody or something, like, it would stop your interrogation.
It would be nice.
But yeah, that it it would definitely help, and I think also add a little bit. Now, what do you think about like the mechanics of the game? Does it feel well? Does it move well?
It moves well.
I mean, how is it as a shooter versus a like third person player?
I think they did a good job of balancing it. Personally, there are some times that like every third-person shooter, where on your screen you can see something, but then when you scope in, all of a sudden you're behind your cover because even though you're sticking out of your cover in third person, the minute you go to first person, you're no longer doing it.
You're saying that's a good thing or
No,
bad
that's
thing?
a bad thing.
Oh, okay.
And then, like, as another example, like when you're on the turrets, which is another thing I want to address, but when you're on, like, the gun turrets or, whatever kind of turret, there was at one point where I was sitting kind of behind a building, and I waited till a chopper was fully in view, and my crosshairs were literally on the chopper with the turret, and then as soon as I started firing, only about a third of my shots actually went to the target. The other 2/3 were hitting the building that I was kind of behind, which I think is
Because you couldn't see.
right. And I couldn't tell that the chopper wasn't far enough because it was fully in view on my screen. My crosshairs were directly on it. There should have been no reason for the building to impede my shot, but somehow it intercepted a good portion of my shots.
Now, while we're still on the mechanics, I know this is we've talked about this many, many times since we were playing. How do you feel about the driving and flying mechanics in this game?
So when we first started playing, I disliked them severely. I'm still not a fan of the driving. The driving to me is just kind of clunky, kind of slow, a little more harder to predict. As far as like half the time I underturn or half the time I overturn, and it's very rare that I actually like nail like a sharp turn like perfectly. And I mean, as you know, like from us playing like things like GTA, things like that, I'm a fairly decent video game driver, and driving in this, I feel like I'm just like constantly running into everything because it just is not great mechanics.
You're saying, like, would it be better to be like more accurate, or because I mean what I feel on it is, it took when you first get into the game, if you're used to GTA or like some of the racing games and stuff like that, they're more accurate. This one is not. It's like they have it in there, but they didn't really focus on it, so it's not a great mechanic. It'll take a second to get used to it. I personally am okay with the driving. I've gotten used to it. The flying, I've gotten used to it. I don't really care for it, especially in the planes. I don't like the one stick control of the planes.
The planes are rough, but the choppers I'm okay with. I'm actually pretty okay with the choppers. In all reality, I think a lot of the chopper mechanics beat out games that like GTA or something like that. Now that's only partially beats out in my opinion. Like as far as like the guns and stuff on the choppers in Wildlands, they're just totally useless. It's so hard to get on target with those guns.
Yeah, and since they don't give you an aimer or anything or crosshair, you're just basically shooting wild and hoping you hit something. Moving on to the guns. There's a lot of customization in this game. There's a lot of different guns in this game, but what do you think about the guns?
So, the problem with the guns, and it's the same as a lot of reviewers out there as far as my opinion goes. There's a lot of customization, but in reality, it's more of a aesthetic thing rather than an actual, I want this gun because it's actually better. It's going to work better for me.
Yeah.
Like 9 times out of 10 when I'm picking what guns I'm going to use, it's like, this gun looks cool. I haven't used it in a while. All right, I'll use this one. It's not, okay, how is the damage compared to the handling, stuff like that. So those of you who watch our videos know I kind of play as our like sniper / assault rifle LMG, type of player. And then Chameleon's usually our shotgun SMG specialist.
Which I've actually gone away from that now just because of the more and more I play this, the more and more it's an open world game. So I try to be stealthy and far away, and you can do that better with a assault rifle and sniper.
Right.
So I've been really going with that, and I only switch to an SMG if I have to be stealthily inside like a town or whatever. Then I'll switch to an SMG. But
Well, that's
I
one
mean,
thing that
my
disappoints me about the game is, when it was first coming out, like, we were thinking, oh man, we're gonna have to do it like when we're playing co-op. One of us we're almost gonna have to assign roles. Like, one person's a sniper, one person is, close in, one person's, our assault man, and it really didn't deliver on that. It was like they focused more on if you're playing by yourself, so that you could have all the different like abilities that come with unlocking everything, rather than you need to focus on one, almost like building a character in an RPG, if that makes sense.
yeah, I mean, you could definitely build yourself that way. Like, one person can be the sniper and one person can be the SMG. The problem is that we found out in the beginning was the person with the SMG in the close range really has to risk failing the mission to actually be effective.
Yeah.
Coming in close. So that's why I kept toying with maybe I should go assault rifle, and that way I can get a 203 and blow up cars in the beginning and do that. But I kept saying no. I'm the assault guy. I need to be close range. I'm gonna stick with the SMG, and I kept fighting it for the longest time. And now I'm just like, yeah, I'm just gonna play the game.
Well, that's the problem, is now that we've hit like the end stages of the game, there's no reason to go like class specific things. Like, I put all my points into becoming like as good a sniper as I could, but then I had so many points left over, I literally just unlocked all the other like top tier abilities.
So you were hoping for maybe more class specific,
Yeah.
like skill trees and stuff.
Well, I would wish that it was more rewarding to be like, break up into like a squad of like 4 and like have each of you do one different thing. Like, as an example, like the Conflict Desert Storm, Conflict Vietnam, like way back in the day, where everybody had an assigned role and you had to stick to that role. And at least for me, like when we play games together, we're definitely very co-op oriented because we enjoy playing games together more than individually. That would fit more into like my ideal world as far as gaming goes.
To me, the way gaming or not really gaming goes, but a lot of games nowadays, when they make games, it seems like instead of doing class specific things, unless it's like an RPG style game and you have to go that direction, when it's more stuff like this, they make it to where by the end game you can unlock everything, and you can be the god of the world or whatever it is, instead of making a game where, okay, I'm gonna play this game and go sniper, do everything sniper. Then I have replayability to go back and say, okay, I'm gonna try as a assault man this time, or I'm gonna try as the LMG guy this time. To me, that there's more replayability with doing that thing.
Yeah.
Moving on to this is another topic we talked about, was the the boss weapons that you get in the game. To me, and we both agree with this, they're useless.
Yes, they're 100% useless.
They look cool, and I could use them if I wanted to, but there's no special talent on them. There's no like incendiary ammo, or I don't know what they can do, since it's supposed to be realistic.
Well, and for me, I would take it if I could just put a suppressor on the different guns, because like the one of the first, I think the first area you get a his and her AK. I would love her AK because it's got the drum mag. It's a good like compact assault rifle. It would be great if I could put a suppressor on it.
Yeah.
But you can't, so it's like, do you sacrifice that, stealth capability just because you want to use a boss weapon? Absolutely not.
And to me, to me, I wanted like a special talent on it or something like that, because all these boss weapons that we're getting, the stats cannot compete with the weapons that you just find out in the world and can switch out parts for,
Yep.
because they're always going to be more accurate, have better handling, have the ability to put a suppressor on it, or whatever combination of things you want to equip on this thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and like I said, in reality, the better handling, stuff like that, like, most of our kills are one-shot kills. Like, it's not, a big deal to have, like, that better handling, the better accuracy, the better damage.
True.
Most of that really doesn't matter as long as, like, for me, like I said, it's the suppressor is key in this game, because that's how you get your stealth one-shot kills. And
Hang on, I'll drive.
in reality, you need those. There's no getting around it if you want to be a stealth player.
So, is there anything else you want to add on weapons?
No, I mean, like I said, the biggest thing I wish is that there was actually an incentive to chase down other guns, other than I just want it because it looks cool.
Yeah. So, moving on, what do you think of the story?
I mean, the story's not bad. Like, some of the cutscenes I actually, like, get kind of, really into, and, when I'm watching them, but half of them I just kind of skip because we're recording. So I would like to go back and watch all the cutscenes, but at the same time, I mean, it's no different from, any other number of games where you're taking down a cartel,
To me, the story, there really isn't one. I mean, this game plays out that, you just want to collect all this stuff, you want to max out your character, you're just trying to basically almost play it like an RPG, but there's no point in watching the story. There's nothing that I'm like, oh, I want to learn more about these characters or anything. Yeah, they tell some jokes when you're playing the game, which is kind of funny, but really I don't care about these characters. I don't care about what happens in this game, besides the fact that I just want to make my character either look cooler or have this better gun. So to me, there's just not much of a story, or at least I don't care to invest in this story.
Well, and again, I think part of our problem with that is that we have just burned through so many of the cutscenes and things like that I don't know if we're missing parts of it, but I don't know. It's like you said, though, it's not one that I feel like I really want to invest. Like,
I don't really care about this world or what happens. Yeah. What else do you want to talk about?
I don't know. I mean, overall, though, like, full-on impression of the game, what would you say? Like, we'll say scale 1 to 10, what would you give it?
To me, when I first saw this game, I wanted, or when I first got my hands on it and started playing it, I loved it. I wanted to probably give it a 7. Now, I'd have to say probably a 6 or a 5. Just because I don't care about the story. There's no life to this game. Like I said, you can beat it in 3 days or however long you want to drag it out, and that's it. You're done. There's bugs all throughout the game. Now, there's no, like, game-breaking bugs. But really, it's kind of a okay. There's no real impressions that it leaves on me, so I'm probably giving it a real harsh score by going a 6, but I mean, that's what I think.
Well, see, when it first came out, I probably would have given it, like, well, my expectation from, pre-beta, including the beta, and then while waiting for it, I probably would have gone with, like, as high as, like, an 8, 8.5. Now that it's actually out, I would probably give it, a 5 or a 6. I will say, like, I'm kind of holding out hope that they do end up coming out with, like, a PvP. As most of you know, at least as far as stamina rate goes, Chameleon is definitely the PvE guy. I'm the PvP guy, so I'm desperately hoping that they come out with a PvP, and I think that'll be a big redeeming factor for me for this game. Would be if they did a DLC that included PvP. That being said, I think DLC in general is they're gonna have to do something special with it and make it the saving grace for this game, because as it stands right now, we're slowly going through just to try and make more content and more videos out of it. But even now, like when we're like, oh, should we record Wildlands, I'm like, I really don't feel like playing Wildlands. There's many more games like Mass Effect, things like that that I would much more enjoy playing right now as opposed to going back to Wildlands. Again, that being said, if they were to release a PvP and have it be a solid PvP, I would be ecstatic and I would be much more excited to play this game.
So, wrapping up here, what are you looking forward to the future in this game? Now, they've talked about PvP is coming. They've talked about a lot of the DLC stuff is going to be PvE phase,
which I'm okay with. As if they add a PvP, and like even if it's just like team deathmatch or like a one team defends like kind of a stronghold and another team assaults it and something like that, like I'd be okay with it. It would be a solid game for me, and I would continue to play it even just for the PvP, and I'll go back and play every section of PvE that comes out, because overall it's not a bad game. I do for the most part enjoy playing it. Me, like I love to like do like the see how far away I can get and up my longest kill shot.
Yeah.
But they're gonna have to do a lot with the PvE to keep me super interested. For me, like I said, the saving grace is gonna be what they do with the PvP.
For me, to like wrap things up here, for the future of this game, I really hope that, like you said, it's got a great PvP. I'm hoping the content doesn't just bring new stories and stuff like that. I want new guns or different missions than we already have. I'm hoping that they bring something new to the table, that I'm not just like, oh, it's the same stuff, just different setting.
Yeah,
I'm really hoping for something like that. Now, like you said, with the replayability, the PvP is going to have to save this game. Mm-hmm. The only thing I'm seeing that might happen is, because this isn't a cover base, kind of like The Division. I say kind of. But with, you remember The Division's PvP, it became like everybody's just running and gunning, and you do that like fast back and forth movement, and then people can shoot you, or you just run around in a circle. I really see that happening in this game, and I hope they do something that doesn't make that a factor.
Yeah.
Because the more and more I play this, the more and more it's becoming kind of like The Division, and I see a lot of influence from The Division. I hope the developers of this game, I hope what they learned on The Division translates into the PvP into this game. I mean, like you said, it would be cool to do a kind of like Alamo style PvP as one game mode. I'm hoping that their PvP isn't just a one game mode kind of thing. I'm hoping, you can have your regular, capture flag, team deathmatch, whatever you want. But also, I mean, you've got this use of this open world. Find some, we can have some big maps. I want some teeny tiny maps. Something that'll keep people together. When I say together with the tiny maps, that would be like your team deathmatch. You can get into a fight really quickly. Open world, there'd be like, vehicles that you can get in, gun trucks, maybe some helicopters flying around that you could take out. That would be like your open world combined arms kind of maps.
Yep.
But
kind of like Warzone from Halo 5.
Yeah. But they're definitely going to have to work on filling that PvP area with things.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this...
Multiple game types, multiple objectives.
Because what I'm worried about is, like, you know, since this is such a open world thing, they're just going to pick a chunk of the map and say, okay, hey, here's PvP. And
kind of like
there's not
Division did.
Yeah, and there's not really anything exciting in this world. It's a lot of open space that
It's a lot of open desert with nothing there.
And then you just have like a city here, a city there. But hopefully, I mean, you know, hopefully they have their stuff together and they can bring out some good content. But is there any other closing remarks you want to say about
No,
Wildlands?
I mean, I gave it a rating. You know, it is what it is as far as the game goes. But I don't know. I look forward to seeing what the future is of Wildlands.
Yep.
And if they do it well, it'll definitely keep me coming back. But beyond that, you know, we'll have to wait and see.
Yep, and we'll keep making content for it. If you stick with us and you know, watch the videos, we'll definitely keep you updated on what happens in the Wildlands. But what do you think of the game? I mean, tell us down in the comments below, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.